In this video, I'll offer you a roadmap specifically for backend development, helping you to start your journey as a backend developer. So make sure to stick with me till the end. Welcome to my channel and let's start. It is important to define what is a backend developer. A backend developer is a software developer responsible for the server side of an application. Simply, this developer is responsible for handling data storage, processing, and managing the interaction between the user and the database. Now let us start with this roadmap. As a backend developer, you need to know a thing or two about the internet, which is a network of networks, and a network is a connection between two or more devices. Next, TCP/IP, which is the language spoken by devices over the internet. TCP or Transmission Control Protocol is responsible for transforming data into smaller packets, where each packet contains the source IP, the destination IP, and a piece of data. IP or Internet Protocol is responsible for routing these packets to the correct path, and each device connected to the internet has an IP. Next, DNS or Domain Name System, which simply converts domain names like we know, facebook.com, to IP addresses. Next, HTTP and HTTPS. They are both languages that your browser and server uses to communicate with each other. But HTTPS uses encryption to enable secure communication between client and server using a technology called SSL, now known as TLS or Transport Layer Security. When we talk about front-end development, the main three languages to know is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Well, what languages should you know for backend development? There's a lot of programming languages that can be used for backend development, like Java, Python, Rust, C#, JavaScript, and more. Now, don't get scared, you don't need to know all of them. Choose a programming language and learn it correctly. YouTube is a great source for learning a new language, alongside websites like freecodecamp.org, W3 Schools, Codecademy, and more. Don't stick on tutorials only, make sure to do some exercises and projects to improve your skills and learn new stuff all by yourself. Now, databases. Databases simply can store data. Well, there are two main types of databases, relational and non-relational. Relational databases store and organize data inside tables with columns and rows. For example, a spreadsheet. Definitely backend developers won't use Excel. They'll use MySQL, which is faster. It is a language developers use to manipulate structured data within tables. Also, you'll take advantage of relationships in SQL, which is a very handy concept. Non-relational databases don't enforce a fixed schema like a table with rows and columns. They offer more flexible schemas, like document stores, like a JSON file, key value stores, graph databases, and more. For these databases, we use languages like MongoDB, Cassandra, and more. The data stored in each type of database is different. For relational databases, we have structured data, and for non-relational, we have unstructured data. Structured data is simply data stored inside relational databases. Think of it like data stored in cells on Excel. There is name, last name, age, and each of these columns have data. How do you handle structured data? Well, using relational database management systems like MySQL and PostgreSQL. Unstructured data is stored in non-relational databases. They can be images, PDF documents, audio or social media posts, and more. We use non-relational database management systems like MongoDB and Cassandra to manage these data. Next, frameworks. You remember when I told you that you need to learn a specific programming language? Well, each of these languages have their own framework. If you go and tell a backend developer to create a function that handles HTTP requests, well, they can do it, but they say, why reinvent the wheel? That is where frameworks shine. Frameworks provide you with pre-built tools and components such as handling your HTTP requests, managing databases, and more. They also allow you to write code faster, making you more productive, and they offer features like load balancing and caching. For Python, use Django or Flask. For Java, use Spring. For C#, use ASP.NET. So if you decided to learn Java in the beginning, you'll learn the framework associated with it, which is Spring. API development. API or Application Programming Interface is a software application that acts as an intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other. APIs like REST API, JSON API, and SOAP API are examples of APIs. REST API is generally preferred over the others because it uses less bandwidth, can be built with programming languages like Python and JavaScript, and it is scalable and flexible. If a client submits a form, the API is responsible for sending this data to the server, so it basically handles the HTTP request and processes it before it sends it to the server. Now, why REST API? Well, first, it is scalable, meaning it is able to handle large numbers of requests from clients simultaneously. It is platform independent, meaning it can communicate with any application no matter which language or OS it is. If you build a REST API using Python, it can still communicate with a web application built using JavaScript. It is HTTP based, meaning it supports HTTP, which is the standardized protocol of communication between client and server. And because REST API uses HTTP, that makes it platform independent, because HTTP is platform independent. Next, web servers. A web server can be hardware or software. A hardware web server is a computer that stores server software and files that make up a website. A server software is a software that is responsible for handling HTTP requests. Basically, when a client sends an HTTP request to the server, the hardware server is responsible for receiving these requests, but the server software is responsible for handling and processing that request. Server software also manages server resources such as CPU and memory to ensure that applications run efficiently. They also offer security against threats like DDoS attacks, SQL injection, and more. Server software include Apache HTTP Server and Microsoft Internet Information Service. Keep learning. Backend development is a huge field where there is a lot of concepts to learn, like caching, version control systems like Git, WebSockets, and much more. Also, this field is evolving each second, so new technologies and concepts are emerging, so you should always be ready to learn something new. Now, I want to offer you this bonus. Go visit this website, where it will offer you an amazing, more developed backend roadmap. Now, there is no such thing as the perfect roadmap. If you didn't like the roadmap I offered in the website, make sure to build your own roadmap, making sure to integrate all important components to become a backend developer. And this is it on how to become a backend developer. If you have any suggestions, please make sure to comment below. Other than that, I invite you to click on any of these videos that will pop up on the screen. Thanks for watching, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.